Our next guest is one of my faves. It's Laura Thompson, and thanks for joining us this morning, Laws.
Morning.
Oh, cool. Sorry about a little tech stuff up there, but no one needs to know. How are you?
Look, pretty miserable in Northcote. I'm looking out and it's raining and I'm thinking, oh, where's the weather for the weekend? But other than that, I'm really good.
Oh, that's good. I didn't know how to introduce you on social media because you wear a fair few hats. I've known you for maybe 20 years. I don't know all about your life, and I don't want to tell present yourself. You're more than just a couple of hats. You do earrings. You're heavily campaigning at the moment through Clothing the Gap and Free the Flag, mostly Free the Flag. But tell us, how did you get here, and I don't know where you start, but I'll leave that up to you.
I think maybe perhaps I didn't realise it at first, but I just had a bit of an entrepreneurial spirit and always wanted to think outside the boxes and be creative about how we approach solutions, and pretty a little bit stubborn and like to do things my own way and don't like taking no for an answer. So it makes me the perfect businesswoman. So, I play with jewelry and celebrate Aboriginal identity and women, and it's just a really nice place for me to be able to share. I've been doing that for about 4 years now. But I guess Clothing the Gap has become almost like my big baby.
Yeah.
And I've just really loved the fact that a fashion brand's been able to create a platform that I'm able to use our voice on behalf of our people and for our people to advocate for change.
So explain what Clothing the Gap is. What's the gap?
Look, at first, I think when people think about, closing the gap, they think about the life expectancy gap. But when we talk about closing the gap, we're talking about health equity across the board. So, if we can close, stop racism in this country, stop discrimination, talk about equity in all levels, then we can start to really close the gap. But Clothing the Gap is essentially a social enterprise. We sell teas that stand for something or merch with message. The money that we raise from selling clothes, we use that to fund the programs we think work and make a difference in community.
Has it been making a difference? And how do you gauge that? And I know it always feels good when you're doing things for other people, but it is important that in your position where you want to know whether things are working so you can adjust, and how do you gauge that, and has it been since, is it a couple of years you've been going?
Yeah, we've been registered as a company, Clothing the Gap as a company for only 4 months. Before that, it was just a label of my health promotion business, Spark Health. We always wanted to be self-determining and free from government funding. We've gotten there a bit quicker than what we expected, and I think that had to do with the Black Lives Matter movement, and people just really stepping up and buying a tea from us has made a difference to the way that we're able to fund ourselves. Obviously, you hope that continues into the future, because it's hard. If people aren't buying from us, then it's hard to survive. And I think that's really tricky about social enterprise, is that, for anyone who's been in the rag trade, the profits aren't huge on a t-shirt. You have to hold a lot of stocks. We have to sell a lot of things. We employ 5 people now full time. That's incredible. We're about to move to a shop in Brunswick. Overheads like you've never imagined. So we're trying to do, I'm trying to do this piece where I'm selling clothes that make a difference, that start conversations in community, and then thinking, are we having to be a businesswoman a little bit, thinking, well, I need to make sure that I'm making enough money so I can pay my staff, that we can be sustainable into the future. It's just a trick. It's this really fine balance. And then I want to be able to create profit in the business because I want to be able to create impact. And I think, we're sort of looking back and, with the launch of a shop in the next couple of weeks, we're thinking, okay, how do we invest? I don't want to be here next year in 10 years. I want to be here in 30 years' time. And this is I think the difference about a self-determining business model, is that we're not like a funding program that's going to last 12 months and it's not going to continue. The impact that we create, it might take a little bit longer to get there, but we don't plan to be going anywhere.
You mentioned something about profit then, and it triggered something else that you mention quite often in a lot of your branding and messages. So is it pride, not profit? Pride before profit? Something? What is it?
Pride, not profit.
Pride, not profit. Can you explain that to anyone who listens to this in the future or now?
Well, pride, not profit really was the hashtag that we used for our Free the Flag campaign for our petition that over, I think nearly 150,000 people have signed.
Yeah.
So that was just about, really, it's a conversation about flag equity, and we should be able to put our flag anywhere without payment, and put pride before profit, because if we're doing it with any other flag in the world, it would be absolutely okay. So why is the Aboriginal flag an exception to that? And definitely as a result of this Aboriginal flag copyright, we're seeing less Aboriginal flags in the world.
What is the difference between our flag, the Aboriginal flag, and every other flag? Why is there an issue now? It's probably everyone's question when they don't know anything about it. They'll go, well, hang on, you can't copyright flag, because otherwise I'll just go copyright. Probably people are scouring all the flags all over the world just to check which one's not registered. But is it just a matter of our flag being lesser known?
Well, I think it has to do with the timing. So our flag's a recent flag. So
yes.
A lot of the other countries' flags were created before copyright existed, because I was wondering that as well. I'm like, how did this happen to us?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so they precede copyright law. So it's unusual in the sense that our flag sits under the Flags Act of Australia, but also the Copyrights Act. There's not many flags that sit in both camps.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
And is it, yeah. And you've been busy particularly in the last 2 weeks. You flew up to Canberra?
Well, I haven't been to Canberra.
Or no, so you didn't fly up. You checked in via Zoom, sorry.
I did.
You didn't break the rules.
An inquiry, yeah.
And what was that about?
Oh, look, that was incredible. And that come off the back of, I think if I would have thought about it too much, I wouldn't have done it. But that was it would be a good idea if I just ring every football club and ask them if they want to be part of the Free the Flag campaign in 3 days.
Yeah, right.
That's what I mean about being in business and not having, people telling you, no, that's not a good idea, or perhaps you shouldn't, or perhaps you need a better plan for that. We just did it to get all 18 clubs on board the Free the Flag campaign. Was phenomenal. We haven't seen that unity around a cause before, and certainly I think for us in the campaign that was a tipping point, because the next week the Labor government announced that they were going to do a Senate inquiry into the Aboriginal flag.
Right.
Yeah, so the power of sport, hey, like the 150 signatories on our petition. I don't know how many more I would have needed to get a Senate inquiry. Football.
I know.
That was my learning was I kind of find it ridiculous you need sports players to get around issues to create the change you want, but certainly I think it was a combination of the people power already.
Yes.
And sport that had us be heard at that level.
I totally agree. Like, your already hard work made it something already that a momentum train was already happening. They just had to jump on board and make it more public. It's pretty laughable, isn't it, though, that I find it funny when you think about our country and you're like, oh, if a football player does it, it's fine. So, like, it's really a bit odd, but it is the platform.
And it's also that momentum. If one club does it, if 2 clubs do it, then
yes.
it must be okay. 3 clubs, and they sort of just fall in. And then we've seen that happen across nearly all the major sporting codes. We've had, other clubs, player associations like cricket and rugby, and some netball teams all jump on board now. So when that happens, I think, oh, how awesome is that they're reaching a new audience that are learning about the Aboriginal flag copyright.
I know you've got another creative arm called Corey Circle Earrings. When did you learn to create something like the artwork that you put on earrings? Hang on, she's really soft and you're really loud. Oh, can you turn up your phone any more than what it is? Oh, don't double click the volume button. Let's try it again. This is so funny.
Sorry, is that better, Troy?
I don't know. Is your phone up full ball?
Yeah.
That's all right.
Yeah, now it is.
Okay. Well, that's all right. Yep. That'll have to do. Yeah, continue on. Well, who teaches a young Indigenous woman how to create artwork? Who passes? Who's your legacy, and who's people before you?
Yeah. Look, I'm a Gunditjmara woman. My family weren't particularly artistic. They were more, into advocacy and campaigning, and they were responsible for helping establish a lot of the Aboriginal community-controlled organisations in Melbourne. I think I've always liked to express myself through clothing. So certainly I've looked for ways to show my Aboriginal heritage in design. So that's sort of how it started. And at the time when I created the earrings, there weren't a whole lot of opportunities to wear Aboriginal design clothing. So I just draw on my heritage and, I guess I would produce contemporary Aboriginal art that tells a story.
And what are some of the stories that... So I'm a bit naive about cultural connection, the stories around in Victoria. I know a little bit about Warlpiri. I see circles and gathering places. Is the symbols the same, or is there any kind of continuity when you travel around Australia, when you see cultural art? You down in Victoria versus Warlpiri, is it same symbols? Is there similar symbols? And what do they mean?
Yeah, I guess I just like to know what I know, so I wouldn't want to comment on art in other places, but certainly everything holds a different meaning. And I think it's important that whenever you create art, that you tell that story that's personal to the art you created. I generally work with small, in many ways, very small canvases that are earrings in themselves. So I'm not telling a big elaborate story. So for one example, like, my favorite go-to pair of earrings are a pair of bundles, and I'll often talk about what the bundle creator spirit means to the Kulin Nation.
Go on. That's a nice segue. Who's bundle?
Oh, bundle.
Who's bundle?
Yeah, so that's one of the creator spirits for the Kulin Nation of the Kulin Nations that we're on now. So for me, bundle really keeps me connected to the country that I live, work and play on every day. Yeah.
So bundle's not outside of Victoria?
No, and he's an eagle. Yeah.
It's a male eagle?
Yeah, it is.
I love asking.
I actually went to the Bundle Caves in, and it was a man. And anyway, in the Grampians, looking at some of the rock art recently, it was incredible.
Is there rock art in the Grampians?
There is so much rock art in the Grampians.
You're kidding? Accessible to the public?
Like, look there.
Did you need to be led?
No, you can walk there. And some of them have a cage in front of them, but once I found out how accessible it was, we went to 3 rock art paintings in the Grampians with the kids. Yeah, there is so much in Victoria. It's
wow, I had no idea.
You have to do it, Troy.
That is incredible. I always think that stuff, and it's naive again and not knowing. It's just I always think that stuff's kind of more remote, and the Grampians is like well visited.
Yeah. No. I
remember going there in school, and I never. Jane Blackston, she's on Twitch right now. Did our school know that the Grampians has rock art, Aboriginal art on the rocks? She's one of her teachers from like the 90s. Hey, I'm really intrigued. I don't know where you get your energy from. It's level freakish, but I'm not going to say that because it's super impressive, and you're driven. You do lots of different things. I understand a little bit about what different things, and it gets tiring, real quickly. You've just mentioned about a team. What drives you to try all these different things? You talk about this entrepreneurial spirit, or this. How do you go and you're a mother, and you've got a lovely partner, you got kids, and how do you get up and smile every day and go, let's go, and do all of it? Yeah, it's epic. Some people don't even know how to do one thing.
I don't know. I guess I get so much joy out of what I do, and the stuff that we create. And I work with incredible people. Like the 5 people I work with, they're amazing as well. So I've got this great little team around me. They're equally motivated. So together, there's not much that we can't create. And a lot of a few of the people we've worked together for a really long time, so they understand the way that I work, and that's, and they say, Laura, you throw me in the deep end all the time, but I guess I love it now. And like, no, they've honestly started to appreciate what it takes to stand up, and me believing in that they've got the qualities to do that. Yeah, I guess a genuine passion and commitment to what we do. And, you know, it feels like whatever we've created in Closing the Gap, it feels like self-determination. And I've never really felt, I've spoken about it before, but it hasn't really felt like it. Like in the government, you know, might say, look, I'm going to give you some money, you can do what you want, but you have to be in this topic and has to be around that. And you still have to put in a project report. And it's not that we don't talk about outcomes at Closing the Gap. With our virtual runs, we've had over 15,000 people participate now. But the impact we talk about is also the same piece that our follower, our supporters are interested in. It's not the bit that we're doing that kind of feels like the reporting bit for no reason. We just do the bits that matter.
Yeah. You'd literally segued into my next thoughts. You'd have a million thoughts and ideas of how to approach things. How important is your team to be able to bounce off ideas, and how many ideas don't make it? But how do you end up going, I think this is the best one out of the 19 ideas that we've got right now to do this? When do you pull the trigger and go, stuff it, let's just have a go? I don't know if it's going to work.
Look, we're really critical of each other. It sounds awful. Someone will pull something up and we show everyone. And if someone doesn't critique it in some way, we're thinking, what?
That is the
Why
best.
haven't you got an opinion on this? It can't be better? Like,
that is impressive. It's hard to find, Laura, to find a team that you can be critical against each other and not be hurt and think, stuff this, I'm out of here. Like, that's important.
It's ingrained now. I think it's really ingrained. And I mean, I'm up for it too. What do you think of this? Say, we don't like the colour. It's daggy, Laura. We're not back in the 70s. You know, I've had to paint my retro wall in my new office. I'm like, I think that's so cool. And I just thought, and you know, you have to compromise. You have to think some things are important and some things aren't. And then if it's really important to a staff member that I can really see that this is something they want to give it a go, I said, well, we'll try that. We'll give that a go and we'll see who's right. That's pretty much how it goes. So there's opportunities to try new things if we don't all agree. And you know, at the end of the day, and this is why I'll talk about self-determination, but this also feels like community control. If we try something in Closing the Gap, we'll not be successful if the community tells us it is or not. And we're not going to flog no dead horse on an idea that's not working because our business will fail.
So you're happy to pull it?
I'll pull it straight away because our business, we won't be able to employ people.
Yep.
So you'll stick at some things, and certainly we can stick with the campaigning, and we've done that for 18 months with the Free the Flag, slowly trying new things.
So what's currently happening in all these arms that you've got? Where are they at with coronavirus? And you would have been hit in some way like everyone has. How have you managed to stick around? Have you pivoted well? I know you did you mentioned something about a virtual run.
Pivoted, like that was kind of easy for us because we're like, oh my God, we're not government funded. We never stopped. We have not stopped. We've continued to work probably as hard as what we did beforehand, if not harder. We were about to run our third virtual run during this Corona lockdown period. We've got a shop that we're just fitting out at the moment in Sydney Road, Brunswick, which we're super excited about, with a full distribution centre. And the other thing we did was we pivoted to do masks for community. So these are some of the things, I think certainly the virtual runs, the launch of a spring collection, and our continued advocacy has got us to where we are,
Not many people get to speak to the Senate. How did that all come about, and what was it like?
Oh, look, I had 3 days.
To prepare?
Yeah, look, they just moved this really, really quick. Like I said, straight off the back of the AFL Dreamtime round, they were like, we're doing this Senate inquiry. I'm like, I'm like, Laura, this is your moment. Like, this is your opportunity. This is the pinnacle of what you've been campaigning for, with your team. I was practicing things like making sure I get an early night, that I don't let it be all consuming, that by the time it becomes my turn to present, I'm not totally anxious and overwhelmed. And I knew that I'd be okay I had an opportunity to give an opening statement. I knew I'd be okay because I'd prepared that. I'd pretty much rehearsed that. I had it down pat, like word for word. I knew what I wanted to say. I was like, I knew. And like certainly like at Closing the Gap with all the staff, we don't wing anything. We are well prepared. So everyone had heard what I was going to say in the office like 20 million times. What I wasn't prepared for was the questioning, and that was why it was really important. I didn't know what the senators were going to ask. I felt like I was being interrogated for 45 minutes, was that I just needed to have, a whole lot of balance with myself to be able to answer those questions the best way I can, even though we're talking about a really complex copyright issue. But I just trusted that. I had pretty much read everything about the Aboriginal flag copyright for the last 18 months. Every news article that come past, I created the timeline, the journey, collected all the resources. So at the same time, I had my own opinions, but I also didn't think that, other people had probably been in this space for as long as I had either. And my opinions were valid.
So there was unexpected or expected resistance in their questioning. You said interrogation that kind of makes me think, why would they be interrogating when it's something that shouldn't even be around in the that's irrelevant whether it should or shouldn't, it is. But are they coming on from a foot of, well, hang on, why should we change anything at all?
I guess there's one argument that and it comes from the Liberal senators that, why shouldn't he be able to make money off his flag, and talking about private enterprise, and that artwork belongs to him, versus what we've always been campaigning for at Free the Flag, is that it's a public national icon and we want flag equality, and we don't think, we agree that Harold should be compensated for his copyright fairly, but then that flag should sit in the public domain like every other symbol. Not everyone agrees with that.
Is there alternative views on the flag, like from Indigenous people? Is there? I've seen some commentary in my own little groups going, let's just stuff it and scrap it and move on and go to another one. Is that why is there a problem in doing that?
Definitely, we've been friends with a lady called Renee Tigg, who's been leading a campaign, Retire the Flag, but yet she's been really supportive of Free the Flag, and we've sort of agreed that our line in the sand together is the 50th anniversary of the flag in July next year. If we can't free the flag before then perhaps, we really need to consider. I mean, it's not going to be no 50th great birthday party for the flag while it's being
totally.
licensees. So, so the communities, and we heard there's been over 50 submissions to the Aboriginal Flag Senate inquiry, and overwhelmingly people are not using the flag anymore. And that's how this is going to play out. If this issue is not resolved, we'll just see less Aboriginal flags in the world, and that we can't underestimate how significant that is when we think about the power and safety we get when we see an Aboriginal flag. That makes us feel belonged, connected, that people understand us. When we see less of those symbols, where do Aboriginal people fit, and where do we feel like we fit? Where's that perceived relationship to go to different areas or build that connection with people if there's less Aboriginal flags in the world? And certainly that's a result of this copyright.
Right. And so fill me in on why it's a problem now, and it never has been, and we're all using it, and all of a sudden, what actually changed the things flowing as they were?
Great question, and I think it was a license holder's changed. Like, it's been licensed. The flag world's had the license to produce Aboriginal flags on flagpoles, or on flags. And then when WAM come on board, they got a license. They were just more aggressive in their pursuit of other people who were breaching the licenses. But it had been licensed to other T-shirt companies in the past. They just didn't actively pursue people who were using it. Yeah.
So it wasn't
not new.
Yeah, right. So breaches of copyright are only self-issued. It's not an automatic thing by the government or an overriding brand thing. It's up to the person. Go, you know what? You should compensate me, or all good.
Well, the license the license holder WAM has an authority to act on behalf of WAM Clothing, on behalf of Harold. So it really, this is a horrible example. At the knockout, WAM Clothing, so the football knockout, WAM Clothing went there and they saw all the teams with their Aboriginal flag, and they're going to issue them all $5,000 fines. And this came out in the Senate. And the knockout, committee said, look, to WAM, if we pay you $10,000, can you not attend the carnival? Because so many of our, local grassroots Aboriginal sports teams are using their own flags.
Oh, right.
Pretty much. And therefore they would have been in breach of the copyright and would have received a fine.
Well, the battle's not over though, is it?
No, it's not. And we will get the Senate inquiry will hand down its findings, I think, in the middle of October, so really soon. And that doesn't mean that the flag's going to be free. Mm-hmm. But on our website, we've downloaded all the Aboriginal flag submissions, and it's just fascinating to hear from organisations across the country about the impact on them. I don't think this is something the government's going to be able to ignore, and I might not get the outcome I want and the Free the Flag campaign wants, and that is a free public licence for all Australians. There's people who are advocating that perhaps the flag should sit in a community control and only organisations should get it for free. But if you're a business, you might need to pay, and if you're a corporate, there might be different tiers of payment structures. This is something I don't want to see. I just feel like this extra layer of administrative burden is not what Aboriginal people need or want. And again, it will impact on its use. But I guess that would be a better outcome than what we've currently got now, which is everyone having to pay.
For anyone that's listening, how can they support? Is there still campaigning to be done from the community? Is it kind of over to you now and you're just the person talking to the Senate, or can community people and anyone listening do anything, sign petitions, support Clothing the Gap? What can they do?
Yeah.
Free the flag?
I think now actually it's been really nice at this point in the campaign where actually I'm talking way less on the Free the Flag campaign. Everyone else is stepping up and chatting about it as well. Head over to the Clothing the Gap website.
Which is?
And you can... www.clothingthegap.com.au, and you'll see everything Free the Flag.
Yeah, I should have had this already cut and pasted in clothingthegap.com.au. Oh, cool. Well, Laws, I think that's about as much as we could go on a fair bit about this, but I wanted to make sure that everyone, hopefully my community and this community from Really Good Radio, understands what you do and how excellent you do it, and the great work that you do.
Thank you.
And it's hard, so thanks.
Yeah, it's not easy, but...
It's not easy.
I love every minute of it. I think it gets trickier as, we're an online brand and our brand relies on social media and content, and just it's a difficult space to navigate. One bad review, one bad statement, and when you combine fashion and a cause, clothes and opinions and value set, it becomes even a more difficult space to navigate.
I just saw you playing with a tech deck. Is that like your stress ball? Just like
I think this is what my son does when he's meant to be doing online.
So, and just a snapshot for the day. Are you off to put on your teacher's hat now? What's on for the rest of the day?
Nah, for Dad.
Are your kids
doing that the whole time? So I pretty much run out the door and escape. I won't lie. Apparently, I don't know what it's like to be at home. Yeah. No, I don't know what we've got on today. Lots of things. We're going to be putting out a newsletter today to all our followers. We're going to be letting everyone know where we're dropping our new.
Oh, cool. I did see that. That is cool.
Yeah, it's really nice. And then I think that's today. It's not too crazy. I'm actually really enjoying not having a million meetings I have to go to. So
yeah, nice.
Yeah, it's good.
Well, enjoy the rest of your coffee and your cup of tea and your tech deck session. Thanks for joining me so early in the morning as well.
Yeah, not a problem.
I'll speak to you soon.
Bye.